Welcome to Stay Clean and Safe, a podcast created with the financial support of the European Union. Here we share ideas, advice, and stories that help us build healthier, safer, and cleaner communities together. Let's begin. Welcome to episode 1, Why Physical Activity is Important in Everyday Life. That is our topic for today. Today we are speaking with Elizabeth, a youth worker in Youth on Board and an IT specialist, and with Violeta Peev, a professor and former coordinator at the private school Saba in Štip. Our goal today is to explore the value and personal impact of physical activity. The first question is, what does physical activity usually mean to you?
For me, physical activity means balance. When I'm active, it's not only about the body, it's also about the mind. Movement brings me back into focus and gives me positive energy, especially when the day is filled with work and screens. I work from home and don't have much time for longer exercise, so even a short walk or a quick home workout is enough to make me feel better and more connected to myself.
Thank you. I definitely agree. When we work from home or online, we often feel trapped between four walls. Going out into nature or doing a short workout can really give us new energy. Now, I would like to ask you, Professor Violeta, what does physical activity mean to you?
For me, physical activity means a lot. Besides moving the body, it strengthens our mental abilities. It lifts our mental state. Why do I think so? Because when we go outside, when we step away from home or work, we breathe fresh air, we have space, and we are surrounded by people. All of that gives us energy, motivation, and encouragement. We feel mentally better, happier, and more emotionally stable. That way we can more easily overcome problems or plan creative ideas that later bring good results.
Thank you so much. I really liked your answer because you connected physical activity with mental health and the invisible spirit we experience through movement. I would like to ask you to share a personal story about how physical activity impacts your life and well-being.
I'll start from childhood. I was a happy child because I lived in an area with a river, hills, and cultural historical spots. We were always moving, exploring, and that made me a happy child and a successful student. I always finished my responsibilities. As I grew older and responsibilities increased, I didn't have the chance to do sports professionally, but mentally I always remained positive. I lived far away from the city center, so I walked a lot, sometimes even 3 times a day to the university. It was never difficult. On the contrary, it brought me joy. When I started working, I had to sit at a desk and work on a computer, so my movement became limited. I started having physical problems. I immediately realized I need physical activity again and joined aerobic. I spent time with friends and colleagues there, and again, the mental benefit was positive. I had a break for a while, but later I started going to the swimming pool in the summer. For 3 years after the pandemic, I swam regularly. It affected me extremely positively, both physically and mentally, bringing me joy, energy, and happiness. People often ask me, where do you get so much energy? And I tell them, from walking in the sun.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you the same question, Elizabeth. Can you share a story or example of how physical activity influences your life and your well-being?
Similar to Professor Violeta, I was much more active as a child. I walked to school every day and I was also an athlete. I trained karate for 12 years with practices 3 to 5 times a week or for 2 to 3 hours. It was demanding, but the effort brought a lot of happiness. The success that come from the sports and highly being physically active make you feel fulfilled. Over time, especially after the pandemic, I stopped doing sports. The pandemic changed my habits and brought adult responsibilities, work, university, so my activity decreased. But now I try every day to stay active, whether it's a walk with my dog, a home workout, or stretching during work breaks. I always try to move. By the end of the day, I feel happier, more satisfied, and overall better.
I completely agree. I mean, even a small amount of physical activity helps me a lot, even sleeping better at night. So, as a young person, what do you think are common misconceptions that young people have about physical activity?
Well, one common misconception is that physical activity must be intense or expensive to be worthwhile. In reality, continuity is what matters the most, and feeling that you are doing something good for yourself.
Thank you so much. That was an excellent explanation of how young people often view physical activity and how barriers can be overcome. Now, Professor, I want to shift the focus to you and ask you, as an educator, what role do you think educators play in motivating young people to stay active?
To teach young people something, I had to practice it myself. If I want to tell my students that they should always exercise, then I must also be active. I deeply respect athletes. They are disciplined, responsible, and punctual. Whether they become champions or simply train recreationally, it's not important. They are special individuals. But I also admire young people who simply move, walking around the city instead of driving, riding a bike, or even using an electronic scooter. Movement matters. Traveling is also physical activity, whether inside or outside the country. Every trip changes a person. You return happier, more open, with a higher level of awareness.
Yeah, so not only do you basically serve as a model for your students, but you also give them different opportunities, like through Erasmus Plus projects and other European programs. So your role is both motivational and practical, and thus you offer like different chances, and you give an example to your students through your own actions.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to ask one final question. You already mentioned mental health and how it connects with physical activity, but I'd like to ask you, how does physical activity support not only physical health, but also mental and emotional health?
First, by moving, we physically renew the body. We elevate our organism. When the body is satisfied, the psychological and emotional parts are also changed. A person lying in bed cannot have positive emotions, maybe for a day or two, but after that depression comes. But when someone goes outside, even if they are facing problems or sadness, movement itself improves mental well-being. Outside there are people, communication, conversation, joy. When you meet someone you know, when you feel the warmth of the environment, especially here in Macedonia, in Stip, it affects you positively.
Thank you, Professor, for that excellent answer and also for showing how emotional and mental health are strengthened through physical activity. So for the final question, I want to ask Elisabetta. As you mentioned earlier, it's not all about going to the gym. So can you share some simple everyday ways that we can include physical activity without going to the gym?
I'd say everyone can start by taking 20 to 30 minutes for walking. It's not tiring, but it's still activity and very good for both physical and mental health. In the end, everything comes down to routine. If someone can create a routine, whether it's home workouts, stretching, or anything else, that's already progress. You don't need weights or gym machines to build muscle or shape your body. Many exercises using only your own body weight can be very effective. If someone can spare at least 30 minutes a day for walking, being in nature, going to town on foot, that's already physical activity. And the more we practice it, the more we develop the habit of staying active.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent answer. So thank you both for this great discussion. I think we truly explored the value of physical activity, how it connects personally to students, the role that educators play, and we shared some nice, interesting personal experiences as well. Thank you for joining Stay Clean and Safe, project funded by the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And remember, small steps lead to big changes in keeping our world safe and clean. Take care and stay safe.